3 years ago, I stopped believing that getting rich required an extreme life. I'm Natasha, and after working inside banking and watching how people actually build money over time, I can tell you this wealth is rarely created by one dramatic move. It is usually built quietly through tiny habits repeated again and again. You do not need to wake up at 4 a.m., punish yourself with impossible routines, or cut every joy out of your life. That sounds powerful online, but in real life, most people cannot sustain it. What they can sustain is a small money habit done consistently. One habit will not make you rich tomorrow, but one habit practiced for months can change your behavior. And behavior repeated for years can change your entire financial direction. In this video, I'll share 17 tiny habits that may look simple at first, but can quietly improve how you earn. Save, spend, invest, and think about money. These are not flashy habits. They are the kind that compound. One of the biggest shifts in my financial life happened when I stopped spending all my free time consuming and started creating something instead. Most people spend hours every day scrolling, watching, reacting, and absorbing other people's work. But the people who grow faster usually create more than they consume. That does not mean you need to build a company tomorrow. It can be something small. Writing online, learning a skill, making videos, starting a tiny side project, designing something, or even studying a skill that could eventually make money. You are not broke because you watched one video. You slow yourself down when your entire day is consumption without creation. Even 15 to 30 minutes a day is enough to start building momentum. The more you create, the more confident you become. Your skills improve, your ideas sharpen, and eventually opportunities begin finding you instead of the other way around. I learned very early that money habits are not formed in isolation. They are shaped by the people you listen to, the conversations you join, and the energy you allow around you. If every conversation is about complaining, judging other people, blaming the world, or laughing at anyone trying to improve, that thinking slowly becomes normal to you. I am not saying you need to cut everyone off or act superior, but you do need distance from environments that make ambition feel embarrassing. Sometimes that distance is physical, sometimes it is mental. And if you do not yet have wealthy, disciplined, or growth-minded people around you, borrow their mindset through books, podcasts, videos, and online communities. Your closest circle is not only the people sitting beside you, it is also the voices you let into your mind every day. Over time, those voices quietly shape your future. One habit that changed how I deal with fear is keeping a simple file called I Can Do This. Every time I finish something difficult, make a brave decision, solve a problem, or reach even a small milestone, I write it down. It may sound simple, but on the days when doubt gets loud, I do not want to rely only on motivation. Motivation disappears quickly. Evidence is stronger. When I feel like I am not ready, not capable, or not experienced enough, I open that file and remind myself that I have been scared before and still moved forward. Confidence is not something you magically wake up with. Sometimes you have to collect proof that you are becoming the kind of person who keeps going. I used to think gratitude was only about feeling happier, but now I see it as a money habit too. A lot of emotional spending starts when we feel empty, behind, bored, or not good enough. So we buy something hoping it will change the feeling. Every evening, I like to pause and write down one good thing from the day. It can be tiny, a calm morning, a good coffee, a kind message, or simply finishing a task I avoided. That small habit reminds me that my life is not as empty as my impulses sometimes suggest. And when I notice what is already good, I become less vulnerable to comparison advertising and the quiet pressure to spend money just to feel better for a moment. One of the most practical money habits I ever built was automating my savings and investments. I stopped waiting to see what was left at the end of the month, because honestly, there was usually less left than I expected. The moment income hits my account now, a portion automatically moves into savings and investments before I even touch it. That changed everything for me because it removed emotion from the process. When money sits in your main account, your brain quietly treats it like available spending money. A dinner here, online shopping there, one small purchase at a time, and suddenly the month is gone. Automation protects you from those emotional decisions. It creates a system that keeps working even when you are tired, distracted, stressed, or unmotivated. And that is something I learned working around money. Every day, strong financial systems matter more than strong willpower. The less you rely on discipline alone, the more consistent your progress becomes. One thing I noticed about money goals is that vague goals almost never change behavior. Saying, I want to save more money, sounds good, but your brain has nothing concrete to follow. A goal only becomes useful when it is measurable. For example, instead of saying I want to save more, I might say I want to save $30,000 in the next 24 months. Now the goal has shape. I can break it down monthly, track my progress, and adjust my spending based on real numbers instead of emotions. The clearer the target becomes, the easier it is to make decisions. Suddenly, skipping unnecessary spending no longer feels random because every choice is connected to something specific. Financial progress gets easier when your goals stop being wishes and start becoming plans with numbers attached to them. The simplest way I audit my money is by dividing every expense into three buckets: what I need, what I enjoy, and what builds my future. The first bucket is fundamental: rent, food bills, transportation insurance, and anything that keeps life stable. The second bucket is fun: eating out, shopping, subscriptions, travel, and the little things that make life enjoyable. The third bucket is future savings, investments, emergency funds, education, skills, and anything that helps the future version of you become stronger. I do not believe you need to cut all joy out of your budget. That usually does not last. The real problem begins when the fun bucket quietly eats the future bucket. That is when money feels good today but leaves you weaker tomorrow. So once a month, I like to look at where my money actually went. Not to shame myself, but to understand myself. Because when you know which bucket your money is filling, you can tell whether your spending is only keeping you comfortable now, or also building the life you say you want later. I do not think anyone needs to become a financial expert overnight. That pressure usually makes people avoid money completely. What helped me more was learning one small money topic each week. Just one. One week it might be compound interest. Another week, emergency funds. Then taxes, ETFs, bad debt insurance, credit scores, or how inflation quietly reduces purchasing power. You do not need 5 hours a day. Even one focused hour a week can change the way you make decisions. Because the truth is, not knowing about money still costs you money. You may pay higher fees, carry the wrong debt, miss investment opportunities, or keep savings in places that do not serve you. Every small lesson gives you a little more control, and control is where confidence begins. One financial habit that saved me a lot of money was learning to stop buying things just to look successful. I have seen people stretch their finances for a car they cannot comfortably afford, upgrade phones they do not need, or move into homes that quietly create stress every single month. Not because they truly wanted those things, but because they wanted approval. Now, before I make a big purchase, I ask myself one question. Does this person's opinion actually matter to the direction of my life? Most of the time, the answer is no. And if their opinion does not shape my future, then it should not control my finances either. Financial freedom starts the moment you stop spending money to perform success for other people. A lot of expensive decisions are really emotional decisions: wearing luxury clothing. For a long time, I thought saying yes made me responsible, generous, and easy to work with. But eventually, I realized that every yes has a hidden cost. Sometimes it costs money, sometimes it costs energy, and sometimes it costs the focus you needed for your own goals. When you say yes to every dinner, every favor, every request, and every opportunity, your life starts filling up with other people's priorities. Then you wonder why you feel busy, but not closer to the future you want. So now, before I agree to something, I ask myself, will this actually move me closer to my goals? Or is it only keeping me available? That one question helps me protect my time. Wealthy people do not only manage money, they manage attention, energy, and the courage to say no. Before I think about any investment account, I think about the person making the decisions: me. Markets can rise and fall, stocks can disappoint, real estate can slow down. But a skill you truly develop stays with you and can keep paying you back for years. That is why I see health, knowledge, communication, confidence, and income building skills as real investments. If you learn how to sell, write, analyze numbers, speak clearly, use technology, or solve valuable problems, your earning power can change in a way a small investment deposit may never match. But I want to be careful here. Investing in yourself does not mean buying every course, app, book, or program that promises a better life. That can become another form of emotional spending. For me, the question is simple: will this help me create real value? Earn better, think better, or live stronger? If the answer is yes, it is worth considering. I believe multiple income streams are powerful, but I also think many people misunderstand them. When you hear that wealthy people have several sources of income, it can sound like you need to start 5 things at once: a side business, content, investing, freelancing, rental income, digital products, all at the same time. But that usually creates chaos, not wealth. What I have seen work better is building one strong income source first. If you have a job, become better at it. Increase your skills, your value, and your earning power. Then use that stability to build the next layer. Maybe your salary funds a new skill. That skill becomes freelance work. Freelance work teaches you what people will pay for. Later, that can become a product, a service, or money you invest. The order matters. Focus first, then diversify. Do not jump from idea to idea just because it sounds exciting. A strong first income stream gives you the confidence, cash flow, and patience to build the second one properly. One small habit I love is simplifying the decisions I repeat every day. We often think money problems only come from income or spending, but mental clutter matters too. When your day is filled with tiny choices, what to wear, what to eat, when to work, when to save, your energy gets drained before the important decisions even begin. So I try to make the repeated things easier. I keep simple work outfits. I plan basic meals. I use routines for my mornings, my spending, and my savings. Not because I want life to feel boring, but because I want fewer things fighting for my attention. The less friction I create around small decisions, the more energy I have for the decisions that can actually move my life forward. One thing I have learned is that the right person can sometimes open a door you did not even know existed. A conversation, an introduction, a small piece of advice, or one honest recommendation can change the direction of your career or your business. But I do not like treating networking as a game where you only reach out when you need something. That feels empty and people can sense it. For me, the better question is, how can I add value first? Maybe that means sending someone a useful idea, sharing their work, introducing them to another person, or simply offering help without asking for anything back. Good relationships are not built by chasing favors. They are built by showing up with genuine value. And over time, those relationships can become one of the most powerful assets in your financial life. I used to think I had to feel ready before I started anything important. Ready to invest, ready to speak up, ready to ask for more, ready to build something of my own. But the truth is, readiness rarely arrives first. Most of the time, it shows up after you begin. There is no perfect moment where fear disappears and confidence suddenly walks in, and if you wait for that, you may wait for years. The first step is usually uncomfortable because you are acting without proof. But that first step gives you something more useful than imagination. It gives you real feedback. Maybe you make a mistake. Maybe you feel awkward. Maybe your first attempt is not impressive. That is not failure. That is tuition. You are paying for experience. People who delay keep waiting for confidence. People who grow understand that confidence is often built after action, not before it. Most people avoid talking about money because they think it will feel awkward, rude, or too personal. I understand that. Money can carry shame, pride, fear, and comparison all at once. But silence also has a cost. If you never talk about money in a healthy way, you miss the chance to learn how other people budget, save, invest, negotiate, or recover from mistakes. The key is to keep the conversation respectful and curious. You do not have to ask someone how much they earn. You can simply say, I have been trying to manage my budget better. What has helped you? Or where did you first learn about investing? The goal is not comparison. The goal is strategy. The more calmly you talk about money, the less power fear has over it. You do not need to change your entire life in 1 week. In fact, when people try to change everything at once, they usually burn out and go back to old habits. What works better is becoming just 1% better again and again. Maybe this month you save a little more than last month. Maybe you cancel one fee you forgot about. Maybe you learn one new money concept. Increase your income, slightly improve your credit, or make one smarter decision before spending. At first, 1% sounds almost too small to matter. But that is exactly why it works. Small improvements do not scare your brain, they are easier to repeat. And when something is easy to repeat, it has a chance to become part of who you are. The people who build real wealth are not always the people who make one huge move. They are often the people who keep moving when nobody is clapping, when progress feels slow, and when the results are still invisible. Over time, consistency becomes power. Wealth is not built from one perfect day. It is built from small systems that keep working even when life gets busy. Creating more than you consume, spending with intention, learning about money, choosing better influences, protecting your time, and acting before you feel ready. None of these habits looks dramatic alone, but together they can quietly change the direction of your life. So do not try to do all 17 at once. That is not the point. Choose one habit that feels realistic for you today and start there. Make it small enough that you can repeat it, but meaningful enough that it moves you forward. And I would love to know, which tiny habit are you going to start with first?